Hello guys, welcome to my channel. And in this video we will be continuing with the React hook series. So far we have done use state, use effect, use callback and use memo. And in case you haven't watched those videos, I'll leave a link to the playlist. Okay, so in this video we will be doing use context, which is another hook in React world. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so I've opened empty project, and I've named it demo. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new React app. Okay, so let me run npx create create React app, and I'll name this. Okay, I will not name anything. I will just use my current directory, and I'll hit enter, and it will start. Okay, once it is done, I'll be back. Alright, so I have initialized a React project which is completely brand new. So let me first run it. Npm start, and it will run on port localhost 3000. Okay. Okay, so my project is running on localhost 3000. So let me just do one thing. Let me quickly just clean up. Okay, so I'll call this app, and I'll remove this. And in my index.js, let me just remove this report vitals. Okay, and also let me just get rid of these. Okay, it's running. So far good, right? Okay, so now the thing is that in the past we have seen like how we can use use state hook, import use state from React. Okay, use state is basically a hook. So let me just do one thing. I have a state called as user, and set user, and let me just use state, and I'll define it. User is Yash, let's say. Okay, so now what I want to do, I want to create let me create one folder called as components. So basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to create another component which will use this user as a prop. So I will call this as new file, and I'll call it profile.js. Okay, and I will okay, let me just quickly install this. Okay, so I'm going to install this extension. Okay, so now RFCE. Okay, so now I have my component. So what I'm going to do inside my app, I will call my profile component. Okay, now you can see that I have my profile component visible, but what I want to do is I want to give this as a user, my user, right? Okay, so in profile it will accept user as a prop, and it will display user, and as a paragraph. Let me just also give this some style. Let's say color red, font weight. Also let me bump up the font size to to rem. Okay, so now you can see that my I have a I have a component called as app, and that app is calling profile component inside of it, right? So which is basically accepting the user prop from app and then using it to display the user, right? So now what we can do is okay, so now the thing is, let's say I have another app. See, inside my profile, let's say I would have another component called as logged in logged in.js. Okay, and what this will show is who is logged in, right? Logged user, and this is accepting a user in the prop. Okay, so whoever calls it has to pass user, right? So now in my profile I'm not going to use this user. What I'm going to do is basically simply calling what do I say, I'm going to I'm going to call logged in, right? So let me import it. Import logged in, and this accepts a user prop. Okay, and I'm going to pass user. Okay, gives me some error. Okay, it has okay, so it gives me that the logged user is Yash. Okay, so you can see the problem. See, my app component is calling a profile component, and I'm giving it the user. Okay, and just don't worry about the set user. Let's say we're not going to use it. Okay, we can also remove this. Okay, so we are calling this profile component with some user, and that profile component is calling a component which is checking who's logged in, right? And then it is passing the same user which app is passing to him or to it, and then it is passing it to logged user, and then logged user is printing. So in a way I can say that my profile does not require any user for itself. It basically working as some form of middleware, where it is taking a value from some component and then passing it to some component. Okay, in this case we only have three components, so maybe that doesn't look so you know uh, messy and unnecessary. But let's say we have 15 components, and 13 out of 15 component does not require our user prop, but they are still using it because that's how it works. And that thing is called as prop drilling. Okay, prop drilling means that you're passing props from one component to another, and deep down you're nesting it but not using it in anywhere. Okay, so is there any way that I can just not pass user like this by prop, but somehow give logged in component access to this user so that it can use it, right? And that's where our use context hook come very handy, and let me show you how it is done. Okay, so now so you can see now I'm not using this user anymore because I want to create something called as a context. Okay, so the way we can initialize a context is by using something called as create context. Okay, so what context does is basically provides you a complete access to some form of data, just like a state. Okay, so in my outside my component directory I want to create a new file called as context.js. Okay, and I will import sorry import from React Okay, and I will import create context. Okay, why I'm doing it in a separate file is because when I'll create in a context inside this file, I won't be able to export it, so that's why I'm creating you'll see in a minute why I'm doing it. Okay, so I'll call this as const user context, since I'm creating it for the user. Okay, context is equals to create context, and I'll provide some initial value. Okay, so inside the parenthesis you provide the initial value. Okay, I can provide any name part, let's say it's an empty one. Okay, and then what I want to do is I want to simply export default user context. Okay, all right, so what I want to do is now in this place I will okay, so now what I'll do is, since I will import this, and what I'll do is I will wrap my entire component. Okay, so I will just remove it and I will use my user context. It gives me hint to import it, and I will use dot provider. Okay, and then I will wrap this with it, and I'll paste my component simply like that. Okay, and now inside my inside my provider, I have something called as value, and value will be the thing that I want to be passed. Okay, and I want to give my children access to that value. Okay, so I want to give the access to user. Okay, so now what I want to do is that everything which is inside this class app, like profile or logged in component, they will have access, or they can have access to this user state. Okay, and the way we do it, okay, so I'm going to remove this one, and since I don't want to use user anywhere in this do I say in this component, I want to use it in my logged in component. So what I'll do is I will simply use my use context, which is a hook, and it is coming from React only, and I will call this as user. Okay, and inside my use context I will pass the name of the context which I just created, which is user context, remember, and it is coming from this file, this one. Okay, now if I hit save, you can see that all my errors are gone. Okay, React is defined. There are some warning, because uh, in my common.js there is no common.js. Okay, so now if I go back to my terminal, you can see that my logged in component has access to the user, but not because of props, but because of context that we have created. Okay, and you can do much more with that, and that is not it. I mean, there's more you can do with this. You can do everything which you can do by passing use a user and set user. Okay, so I'll call this as set user, and let's say you had to update this value. Okay, or let's say you had a button just below your logged user, and on click you wanted to update the value of your user to some other hard-coded value, let's say. So how we're going to do it is, because is that let's say in my in this value prop I can pass more than one value. So in my set user, what I'll do is I will just simply wrap it with another curly braces, and then I'll give it comma, and I'll give my set user. Okay, and now what this will do, okay, first of all it will give me error, because now in my logged in I cannot just simply use it like that. I will have to you know sorry I will have to wrap it, and I'll call the another one as set user, because that's what I called it. So I'm basically destructuring it from user context, and then what I'll do is I will simply wrap this thing, come on, vm wrap, and I'll wrap this with another div, and below that, below my this division I will call my button, and button will have change user. Okay, and on click of my button, what I'll do, I will simply have an arrow function which will do set user to some other user, let's say John. Okay, let me refresh it because there was a bunch of errors. And now see, my current logged user is Yash, and if I click on change user, what is supposed to happen is that this onClick event should fire, and it should set my user to John instead of Yash. If I click that, yes, it's working. So you can see that we can do everything we do via prop drilling. We can do it with by creating context, and that is far more cleaner way to to use uh, states, and not passing it like in the places where we do not need it. Okay, but of course in some places we'll have in some places we have to do it. I mean, we cannot just create context for everything, so sometimes we have to do it. But if it increases your if it decreases the code readability, and it messes up your code, then it is better to use context than passing it as a prop. Okay, so that's it for this video. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed it. So I'll see you in the next one.